Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Lorepod podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. And today, we're going to get things pretty prehistoric here on the channel because we're going to be talking about Jurassic World Rebirth. And I know what you're thinking, Dakota, what the hell? We already covered, the reviews. We've seen the movie already and such, too. But right now, I'm going to give you all a little lore episode here today, covering the world, where they're at in this movie, the possible futures, but also what the hell was up with that third island? We're going to be talking about all that here today on this episode of Lorepod. So let's dive right in, shall we? Jurassic World Rebirth itself takes place 5 years after Jurassic World Dominion, which of course had the dinosaurs on the mainland. They're dealing with poachers, surviving in environments, and such like that as well. But where we're going to start here today isn't there. We're going to start on the island because, of course, this takes place on an island as our characters go there to try to get blood of the three largest creatures, avian, terrestrial, and, of course, aquatic. They are going to get the blood there to help cure heart disease in mankind. Honestly, using the blood cells and such like that, oxygen levels and shit. Honestly, really cool. I dig that. Made sense. Parker Genetics being a new company. That is a genetics, well, not even a genetics, it is a pharmaceutical company coming in there and is like, hey, you know what, genetics companies, go fuck themselves. We're a pharmaceutical, because, of course, they're never the villains. This, of course, has been confirmed as Site C. We have Site A, Isla Nublar, the theme park show. Well, it's the theme park itself, the show floor. Site B, of course, Isla Sorna that we saw in The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3. That was the breeding facility where they had them as babies, they raised them and then transferred them over. Site C, though, was a whole different island. Isle St. Hubert, which wasn't said that much in the movie, is, of course, located way more far away from these islands and was a research facility. It was run on a hydrothermal power plant there, so running by the lava and the volcanic activity in there, it is going to make it so the energy is going to be ever-sustaining and you're never going to run out. Hydrothermic power plant. Now, this island was in operation for a long time, actually. It was around during Jurassic Park era and the Jurassic World era. InGen Genetics, of course, International Genetics, the company who fucked around and found out for the first Jurassic movies here, and, of course, was just a mercenary company / company that was owned by Masrani back in the Jurassic World 1 and 2 era. You didn't really see them at all in the third one, actually, if I remember correctly, replaced by Biosyn. And now that I think about it, in the second one, you didn't really see InGen at all either. But InGen came back for this one because they were in charge of the research facility. This is like the Area 51. Of course, they're going to be testing hybrids for the Jurassic World era, which we'll talk about in just a second, but of course, just testing new species in general of what would work, what would not, and how do we adapt and change these dinosaurs / prehistoric creatures to fit into our theme parks that we're going to see later on. That's what this facility was for, which, by the way, makes sense. Why have a research facility where you're testing what works, what doesn't, and what do you change to make it more safety? And just going to say, probably the T-Rex being blind is probably a genetic thing done on this island. That's my little fan theory. Now, in the beginning of the movie, though, we do see it operational till the very end there with that Snickers wrapper, of course, but it is taken down due to a wrapper and a system failure, which just showed how faulty the system was. And it showed again, right in the first 10 minutes of that movie, the hubris of man. Thinking, oh, fine, do whatever, we're doing research here. 17 years ago from now, it did end, which is interesting. So that means it was part of the Jurassic World research thing. We had not had that before. This is extending all the lore for Jurassic World and Park. On this island, though, we do know it is confirmed that they did experiment with the splicing of DNA near the Jurassic World era, and of course made the Mutodons, which is like flying raptors, and of course the Distortus Rex, which is the T-Rex mixed with a few other things there, genetic monstrosities, and was the first versions of the hybrid dinosaurs. Indominus Rex / Scorpius, and not slash, but also including the Scorpius Rex, was not the first ones, as we find out from Camp Cretaceous and also from Jurassic World itself. Now, what does this mean? Well, it does mean that maybe that these hybrids were on Isla Nublar during the time here due to Isle St. Hubert falling. And because of that research facility, the electronic vehicles, all that shit there did fall. Now, with Jurassic World Rebirth, though, we were able to confirm due to the fact that there's a 7-Eleven store, basically, but that's not. And, of course, the vehicles, we saw buildings, areas that people lived in and such. We did see a lot of this, which is also from the books, by the way. But we did see that the fact being that the people who worked on this island lived on this island. I should also make it clear, I'm really looking forward to maybe a prequel movie talking about the fall of the island. And maybe why no one ever talked about it, because a lot of people fucking died. That's just me. I would like to see the fall of this island from that one Snickers wrapper. That's just me. I would like it, though. Give us the prequel movie, Jurassic World. Let's go. Because you have all the species there, Distortus Rex, all of it. It's there for the taking. Now, it is known in the lore, this island was left alone for 17 years. Now, the dinosaurs on this island, because it wasn't just the hybrids, these dinosaurs, as you heard in the trailer and saw in the movie, are the experimental, too dangerous for the park. What does that mean? Well, clearly the T-Rex wasn't fucking blind and could see things, because if you thought it was blind, it even stood still, it didn't give a shit and it still saw them. So that indicated that the animal was bigger, also thicker, more muscly than even the T-Rexes we saw in the Lost World Jurassic Park, and even the third Jurassic Park 3. This was a fully fledged, muscular, very strong T-Rex, and we haven't seen one of those since the original trilogy. We, of course, know Titanosaurus, too large. That tail itself could probably break the sound barrier because, believe it or not, in case you didn't know, this is the paleontology me coming out, but a tail like that with a whip end could break the sound barrier, a.k.a. Diplodocus, and it was probably too large and too uptight to keep alive in the park. Also, we have included amphibious animals were part of it, too. We saw what look like a few different iconic prehistoric amphibians / reptiles in there, and that was really cool to be able to see them, but we don't really have a classification on them as of yet. There's a few fan theories. I won't confirm them here. But either way, we saw those. They probably didn't want to put them in a park. Too nasty. And, of course, the Spinosaurus, way too damn aggressive to put in the park, but then they made the two-legged one that was more bipedal instead of quadrupedal and didn't swim as much compared to the ones we saw in here for Jurassic Park 3. What happened with that? Who the fuck knows? Maybe we'll find out in the future movie. And, of course, the Mosasaurus, which was a different Mosasaurus, confirmed with behind-the-scenes artwork and such like that. The Jurassic World Mosasaurus was killed by poachers as people were standing in its head that was on land as they killed it. So this Mosasaurus, confirmed in all the ways, was a different one. Judging by color, body shape, and all that as well, probably the first generation of Mosasaurus. And I did clarify, it was tagged, and it was being able to identify it in there, and it stayed around the island, though. They didn't go fucking wild like the Jurassic World one. Now, the big thing being, now that we've covered the island, a little bit of what happened, yada yada, of course, this movie does take place 5 years after Jurassic World Dominion. And what have we found out? Well, due to the different types of oxygen in the air, different chemicals, pollution, and of course the environment itself there, dinosaurs weren't able to thrive, and most of them are dying off. Even in the movie we see that the last living sauropod in North America itself here did die. And guess the hell what, people? There was a lot of sauropods over there. But the animals, if they're able to, migrated near the equator onto islands, and those islands themselves are a no-go zone. They did mention this, and we didn't even see any of that shit whatsoever. We did see a Dunkleostosis, though, a giant fish with a very hard head and also big, powerful jaws was seen in there as well. Plus a megalodon mouth as well, too. So who the fuck knows what's been going on in that 5 years, what was created and such. But we do know aquatic species and land species, if they were able to make it, didn't move near the equator. Again, we don't see any of that. All we see are the animals that were experimented on in that island near the equator. So basically, the animals of Jurassic World in the wild on North America, Europe, Africa, all that shit that we've seen in the shows, the movies, they are going extinct at this point here. I kind of want to cry because it means Rexy and Blue and her baby are dead. Now, we do know, though, too, in this movie, I did catch it, not too many people are talking about it, there was a military Black Hawk helicopter that was found on the island, of course, by our main characters, where they were able to get a pistol from. Now, there was an Air Force logo on that. Nobody themselves are asking what was up with the Air Force helicopter and why the hell was it there. I myself am asking, what the fuck were the military doing on that island? Was it part of the evacuation? Was it part of a recon thing for military applications? What was it? the world may never know, as it may not get addressed. But hopefully people do address it later on. That currently, though, is the lore for Jurassic World Rebirth, where we're at, the new island, and so much more. If y'all enjoyed this episode of the Lorepod podcast, be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast. I've been host Dakota Morgan. Social media for me and my adventures and animals education and much more in the description box down below, everybody. And, of course, as always, stay creative, everyone.